everyone. It caught me looking down. Hi, everyone. I am Lana Quest, and welcome to the Quest Show. Look at me. I am on time. 8:01. Stop playing, y'all. Um, let's see. Before we get started, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Even if you don't like me, hey, give me a thumbs up. A for effort. Again, I will try not to rant if you haven't been here before. Again, my name is Lana Quest. I try to come every Thursday at 8 p.m. and just run down what's going on the news cycle, or as much as I can fit in an hour. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Just give me one moment because I have to share my link. 1 second, and we will be off and running. Hold. Let's see. All right. I am ready. When you're single here, doing it by yourself is a little different. When it's two people, one person can talk while you do the technical stuff. But anyway, I am here. So let's get started. Yes, you see the title of the show. We are not going to jump into that quite yet, but let's just go in order of what happened this week. This week was a big week because for the Republicans anyway, which again it's really hard to get into that side of the politics, but you know what? It is politics. If you love politics, you love the good, you love the bad. Politics are made up of, different political parties, independents. You have Democrats, you have Republicans. So it's all relative. So we have to talk about it. We just do. So DeSantis dropped out of his running for the president. Nobody cares, right? But we have to talk about it. So Ron DeSantis has dropped out of his presidential bid. You remember in the beginning when Ron DeSantis announced his presidency? Well, it was kind of jacked up when he announced it because he announced it on, I think it was called Twitter and not X back then. And remember, he made, Elon loved him in the beginning. When Elon loves who he thinks is going to be a winner. So he thought Ron DeSantis was going to be a winner. So Ron DeSantis and Elon, teamed up because I guess Elon was pissed about Trump because he allowed Trump back onto Twitter, but Trump is like, hey, I got Truth Social. I can lie all I want over here and say whatever, and there's nobody to censor me. Not like Elon would censor because he's got Nazis and everyone else running around his platform, but that's neither here nor there. So they have this big plan for Ron DeSantis to announce his big, let's call it a coming out, just because we know Ron DeSantis just hates the LGBTQ community. So let's say Ron DeSantis had his coming out party on Twitter to announce his candidacy. And remember, it just went all wrong for him. I don't know. I think it crashed. First, you couldn't hear him, just everything. So, crashing and burning is pretty much what Ron DeSantis's whole campaign was. It was just a big crash and burn. So he has dropped out. Hey, Mary, he dropped out more so, not that he thought that he didn't have a chance, because does Ron DeSantis think like that? I'm not quite sure. But, the rumor mill is saying that Ron DeSantis ran out of money. He also ran out of backers. But, could be because he and his wife took private jets everywhere. Like Casey demanded that they have the private jets. So Ron DeSantis went through his money fairly quickly. Another reason why his candidacy was a flop is just because he ain't a people person. Call Trump whatever y'all want to call Trump. No one likes the guy. but he has a way that kind of like, I guess, connects with a certain segment of people. They just love the way he talks. Even if you can't even understand what he's saying half the time, they love the way he talks. Ron DeSantis is just, he doesn't even look like he likes himself. He doesn't look like he likes his children. He doesn't look like he likes his wife. I saw him do on a campaign, round, and he was talking to a little boy. When these guys are out campaigning, here in America, the big thing is to get a photo op with a child. Like, that's the thing. Like, it shows that you are like this human person. So you have to get a photo op with the kid. I'm sure there's something else behind that that's older than I am. I just don't know what it is, but I just know that it's important, because I remember seeing Donald Trump trying to take a picture with a baby, and the baby's just like, ah. So Ron DeSantis was talking to this kid. It was in the middle of the heat wave. It was like 100 and something degrees. And the poor kid is just trying to eat his icy. That's it. Just on his icy. And Ron DeSantis goes, "Hey, little buddy," right? The kid's like, "Hi." And Ron DeSantis is like, "What you eating?" And the little boy says, "An icy," as he keeps, and remember, it's like a heat wave, so the kid just wants to eat his icy ice cream or whatever. And Ron DeSantis goes, "Got a lot of sugar in that, doesn't it?" And the little boy just looked at him like, that little boy probably in his head was going, "Who's this asshole?" What are you talking about sugar? I'm a kid. I'm supposed to want sugar. So anyway, Ron DeSantis has dropped out of the race because he just sucks. He tried to run to the right of Donald Trump. How are you going to out Trump? Like, Trump is already awful. Why do they want you? Like, that just didn't make sense. Bye, Ron. So now it is just Nikki Haley and Donald Trump. So they went to New Hampshire. Interesting about Haley. This whole time, Haley has not wanted to, hit Trump in the gut. She was tiptoeing through all of the things. She really didn't want to be mean to him because they're all afraid of him. And also, I think they all kind of want some type of position and in the administration, which is interesting with Nikki Haley, because Chody had a position in the administration and he would never give her another position in the administration. So she could have, hit him with all the fire she wanted to. Take a minute. I don't care about any of this. I'm just talking about it because I have to talk about it, because it's about politics. I don't care about the Republicans, but okay. So let's go back. So she could have already hit him. Anyway, Ron DeSantis is gone. So now it's Nikki Haley and Donald Trump. They're in New Hampshire. Of course, Donald Trump beat her by double digits in New Hampshire, which everyone knew that was going to happen. However, they didn't know what was going to happen after the elections, right? So to get the people's reactions after they've cast their ballots and just their responses, right? So now reporters are asking the people, and there's a word for it, like post whatever, and asking the people, like, who did you vote for? And a lot of them like, well, Nikki Haley. Why? Right? Because they voted for Donald Trump before, and they're like, never again, right? They just don't like him. There's so many people that don't like him. So Trump may have beat her by double digits, but Trump, right? 54.3%. Now, this is a Republican primary. He only got 54.3%. Nikki Haley got 43.2%. You would have thought that Trump, that number would have been so much higher. Turnout was low. He didn't get as much as he shouldn't. And there were so many people leaving saying, yeah, I voted for Nikki Haley. I would never vote for Donald Trump again. I voted for Donald Trump twice, never again. There were a lot of those people, right? So there's that piece. So yeah, he won New Hampshire, and he will probably win South Carolina. And that's probably when Nikki Haley is going to bow out of the race. Um, Donald Trump is livid, right? Because Donald Trump wants her to get out of the race now. Get out of the way, Nikki, right? He doesn't, Nikki. Like, Nikki is so much on his brain that this week he also thought that Nikki Haley was Nancy Pelosi. He's talking about J6 and Nikki Haley being there, and he gave her 10,000 soldiers. Like, who knows what he was talking about? Hey, MAGAs, something's wrong with your boy. Y'all keep saying something's wrong with Biden. Biden speaks in coherent sentences. Biden may mix up words, and so do I. And I'm sure I will mix up a few words tonight on the show, but he is forming sentences. He knows where he is. Donald Trump has no idea where he is half the time. His sentences don't make any sense. And when he does these speeches, he stalls because you can see his mind trying to catch up and figure it out. Nikki, and then he'll try to say what he's saying. And like, he'll talk about one thing, and then all of a sudden he's talking about missiles being launched. And then not only is he talking about the missiles being launched, he's making the noises. He's going, yeah, when I ordered the missiles, it was a bam, boom, pow. Like, this is the man that people want as president. What's wrong with you, MAGAs? Like, he's literally saying missiles go boom, pow. And then he'll end that with, hey, do you know 2 months ago I took a, whatever the test is, competency test or dementia test or whatever he took, and I got it all right. And everyone says, oh, like, something's wrong there. But let's go back to Nikki. He's pissed that Nikki will not bow out of this race because he just wants it to be him. He's so mad at her now that he's just like throwing out any racist remarks. Like, he's just gonna beat her up. She knows it. I don't think she cares, because now when they're in South Carolina, she just comes out swinging at him. Now she finally comes out swinging at him. Now she finally talks about, like, oh, I don't know what he's saying. He mixed me up for Nancy Pelosi. Like, now she's trying to be tough woman, but it's way too late for that. But we love to see it. And I'll tell you why we love to see it. We love to see the longer that, and I don't want Nikki to bow out in South Carolina. I don't want her to bow out after. I want her to just keep going, just like Bernie Sanders. Don't just go to every state, Nikki. Stay in it for as long as you can, because as long as Nikki is in there, the more it's going to drive Trump crazy. The more he's going to insult her. The more the independents are going to see what an asshole that this guy is. So that's a good thing. They're going to see how crazy he is, how racist he is, because these attacks are gonna. All last night there was like 37 posts at 1 a.m., like all in the span of like 30 minutes. Like, it's insane. Like, I'm starting to think Trump is a bot. I mean, I know they say, well, maybe they don't say he doesn't do drugs, but like, that just reminds me of someone who's like, not saying that he's doing it, okay? But I'm saying it's what it reminds me of. Someone who's like up all night doing drugs and just like typing or doing something, like, you know what I mean? Just vacuum the house, like snorting coke and like cleaning. Like, that's what he reminds me of. It's pretty crazy. So that happened. Let's say, hey, let's talk about Timmy. So apparently Timmy Scott got engaged, or is it Timothy? Whatever y'all want to call him, Tim Scott. He is engaged. They set up this whole elaborate thing, like Tim Scott's on the beach, and then he gets on his knees, and then like he proposes to this woman, and then he puts a whole Twitter post. It's like, she said yes. I'm like, Tim Scott could have done a better ring, but that's I don't know. So my thoughts. Feel free to put your comments on what you think about Timmy Scott. Um, so right. Um, Interesting. Tim Scott, we all know he's just faking it, right? Because they put a lot of pressure on Tim Scott while he was running for president about his sexuality and why he didn't have a wife. Like he's running for president, like who's Tim Scott? He doesn't even have a wife. Who's he dating? Like that was just out in the stratosphere. So then all of a sudden, at one, I think it was a debate, his Christian girlfriend was there. So then he introduced the world to his Christian girlfriend. Tim Scott did. Yes, he did. He's got a Christian girlfriend. So now he and his Christian girlfriend are engaged. Supposedly he's been seeing her for some time. I don't know, a few years. And she's some divorced woman with some children. Yeah, okay. Tim Scott, like, it's like that. None of that sounds right. Can y'all see Tim Scott being somebody's stepdaddy? Can y'all see that? Unless he's got a stepson that's kind of like a Nestor to Matt Gates. Other than that, I don't see Tim Scott as being someone's stepdaddy. But anyway, he is engaged. So all right, let's back up. So when Trump won New Hampshire, he did his, I don't know, like I didn't even know they did speeches after they won, like anyway, he did whatever his ungracious speech was and saying he won New Hampshire 3 times, which is a lie. Just all of the blah, blah, blah. He talked about Nikki Haley. He bragged about like, oh, you helped like Tim Scott and whatever the other woman's name in South Carolina. And here they are endorsing me. Ha 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 ha. So, so while Trump is giving his half coherent, half not coherent speech, Tim Scott comes from the back. He just comes to the side, and Trump's like, whoa, whoa, black man, slow down. You're making too many moves. I'm just saying, I don't know if he really said that, but it looked like he thought that. And Tim Scott came to the side of him and he just looked him in his eyes and had like this weird glossed over gaze. And it's like, I just love you. Mm. And then like Trump was uncomfortable with that one too. Like he's like, yo, I like to use you for a prop, but I like when my props don't say too much unless I ask them to say anything. So get back to the back. Like, and then, Tim Scott moseyed on to the back. So, of course, Tim Scott has been trending for days because a black man told a racist that he loved him. Tim Scott, a black man, I mean, lowercase b, black man, uh, told a racist that he loved him. Now, there's a couple, I don't even know where to start with this. One, like I laugh about it, but that shit is embarrassing, right? Like the ancestors must just be like rolling in their graves. Like, who is this man's family? Like, you couldn't pay me any amount of money to utter those words to that racist. Like a man who don't care about you or your people. Like that's utterly disgusting. And all for what? Because we all know why. Like, we'll talk about it like, oh my God. But we all know why. Like, he just willing to do anything to get that prime spot with the good old boys. Like, to get that acceptance from the white man. Because the white man, that's the status. If you get the white man to like you and accept you, to him, he's made it. Right? To people like him, to non-white people like the Tim Scotts, the Ben Carsons, the Clarence Thomas, as long as they get the acceptance from the white man, which is crazy because on his own, like really think about this, right? I'm not a Tim Scott fan, but just think about it. Just on its face, Tim Scott is a senator. Tim Scott could be like, F you, F you, F you, F you. Y'all are all racist, right? He may not get reelected in South Carolina, but you can't take that away from him. He became a senator. That you can't take that away from him. He has made it to a certain level. And what makes his love of a racist so horrific, he made it to where he is off the backs or off the back of the civil rights movement. Just like Nimrata, just like Nikki. Her parents came as immigrants. They're here off the back of the civil rights movement. Because if Black people and allies didn't fight for civil rights, Nimrata's immigrant parents wouldn't be in America, or they wouldn't have been treated equally. They wouldn't have been able to get the professions that they got. It was because of the Civil Rights Act that had been passed when they got here. Tim Scott is a product of that. So for him to be kissing up on a racist, just all up in it, it's just more than like, again, it's laughable, but it's like, wow, man, you just really stoop really low. That's some crazy stuff. So and then another part of me, yeah, he was tap dancing for Massa. That other part of me is like, I, I, I really think, as we know, politicians talk in the back room. I swear, I would not be surprised if he's either on the list for vice presidents, and that's why he needed to get engaged, right? Because can't be a vice president. I mean, of course, you can be a vice president without being married. But ideally, the way America operates in this weird type of thing, they would want a vice president. There would be questions. Why isn't he married? Because you need like the first lady, you need the what. So Tim Scott needs a fiance right now. So he is either on the short list or he already knows that Donald Trump is going to pick him for VP. I think Donald Trump is going to pick him for VP. I think the Republicans have in their heads that, oh, we can't do two white guys again. Maybe we can get, the blacks to vote for us if we, get a black man. We got to get a black or a woman. So maybe women will forget that we're taking their rights away, their reproductive rights away. Maybe they'll forget that if we have a woman as VP. Right. So that's why Elise Stefanik is just there too, just loving up on Trump. Right. You have Carrie Lake, you have all of them. So I think it's going to be a woman or it's going to be a black man. I tend to think that he would choose a black man before he chooses a woman because he he got he don't like blacks, right? But I don't think he'd want a woman. He's not gonna want a woman sit next to him. He's not gonna, especially if she ain't attractive, well, what he calls attractive. He definitely is not gonna want to be like, that's my VP, and I gotta look at this person all the time. I don't think he'd want that, but that's just my thought. So yeah, Tim Scott out here kissing all the ass, but I think that is exactly what it is. Tim Scott, he wants that VP spot so bad, and he would do anything for it, and that's really pretty disgusting. Next on the list, the Supreme Court allows Biden administration to remove the razor wire Also, last week, 3 migrants drowned. The wire that Greg Abbott put up on that border, that Mexico Texas border, Mexico America border, and Texas. Greg Abbott put up, remember that wire, razor wire? And the razor wire has been blocking the agent's access. So those 3 migrants died because the agents can't get to them because of the razor wire. So the Supreme Court allowed the Biden administration to remove the razor wire. I don't know if that has happened yet. I don't know if the Biden administration is supposed to be removing it or Greg Abbott is actually supposed to be removing it. I'm not sure. And I don't believe that it has happened either because Greg Abbott is an asshole and he loves death. He, in particular, loves death of Black and brown people. So I don't know. He said it's not over. So this is very important to him, apparently, that, people are getting caught up in the razor wire and drowning. That's very important to Greg Abbott. Like, these people, you can't make this up. Like, you can't make this up because any normal person, if your razor wire is causing another humans, men, women, children, to die, drown, get cut up, any normal human would be like, wow, we got to take this down. This was a big mistake. But not these Republicans. They're literally ghouls. They don't care about death, right? And we know it because I always go back to Sandy Hook because that was kind of like the point of, I always knew that they were crazy racists and bigots, right? Always knew that. Always knew they didn't want gun reform. But when those white children were slaughtered with assault weapons, I mean, beautiful children, and I'm only saying their race because I'm trying to make a point. When those little babies, white babies, blonde, blue-eyed, right? Like the white babies, that didn't even nothing meant nothing to the Republicans when their own community was slaughtered. Their children, white children. Well, now's not the time. That was years and years and years ago, right? So that was the turning point for me when I realized that, Republicans are hardcore thugging it out here. They don't care about nothing. So, you know what? Shouldn't be surprised that Greg Abbott has razor wire, and if migrants and their children die, I don't care. I want it up there. I don't care. I don't care. So, yes, it's pretty unbelievable. Let's see. Let's move on. 8:30. How you doing, Mary? I don't know where Michelle Porter is. She's normally here, and I sent her the link. Let's see. Oh, let's talk. I'm trying to get better with local news. Really hard about that. So let's get some New England news. That's local, local, local. Hey, New Englanders, how y'all doing? It was like 50 degrees today. Nice out. So the mayor of Boston, if you didn't know, like, Massachusetts is a blue state. It is really a blue state because we have Maureen Healey is the governor of Massachusetts. The capital, Boston, is being run by Mayor Michelle Wu, and it's women, right? So that's like the dopest thing ever. So Mayor Michelle Wu has taken, I mean, among a lot of things that she's doing, like, the racist hater, of course, right? Because she's a woman and she's Asian. So they don't like her. But she is really here trying to heal and trying to do some things. Like, our transit system, our trains are horrific. You hear what I'm saying? And it's been horrific because this not necessarily Mary Wu, but this is Maureen Healy, the governor, the Democratic governor, because Charlie Baker, remember Charlie Baker? He's a Republican, but he was moderate, right? He wasn't a crazy Trump fanatic because he knew that he was in a blue state. But he ruined the transit system. He privatized, he gave jobs to his friend. It was just, it's a mess and it's never been worked on. So, and he knew it, so he stepped down. So now Maureen Healy is, slowly but surely trying to fix our track problems, the old trains. I just heard they're having a meeting somewhere in Boston, the MBTA, which is our transit system, because they want to lower the prices of our fares, and they want to make some of the lines free. And they want to hear from the people. So it's like really being announced. Like, I've never really heard this on the news. Now I'm hearing on the news when the next meeting is, where it is, what time it is. Like, Republicans work in silence. They just do what they do sneakily. Again, because this is a real difference in how Republicans and Democrats work. Democrat Mayor Michelle Wu, she took steps this week towards reparations. She has gotten a bunch of academics and some history experts, and their main goal is to research Boston's role in the transatlantic slave trade and the city's long history of discriminations. They're tasked with finding the patterns and practices. So this is the first step of, one, is reparations something? Is there patterns and practices? And then the next phase would probably be who gets it. Next phase would be get what? Like, what is it? So at least there's a discussion going on, right? There's a budget of $500,000. And Black folks are probably like, listen, you have $500,000, start giving that out. That could be reparations. It's not a lot of money. So you don't want that. Let them go on and do the research. But at least she is, I don't know, maybe the first mayor who has just taken this big step. Like, come on, let's go on and do this. And then gave a timeline to it. Like, you have 1 year to get that report to me. Let me know what it says. So she has done that. She's done some other things too, because she is also Michelle Wu, the first mayor that actually, maybe no one has heard about it. This was a big Boston thing, I think back in the 80s or 90s, the Charles Stewart case. White man who killed his wife and pregnant. She was pregnant at the time. So, and I think she was very pregnant, like about to deliver. So he killed his wife, and of course the baby died as well. And then he blamed it on a black man. And once he blamed it on a black man, like called the police and everything, recording saying, and I believe he shot himself too, or he paid someone. I can't remember the whole story. Like, it was so many years ago, but he did it. But he said it was a black man that did it, like two black men or something like that. Then the whole police department, because again, this is back in, like, I want to say the 90s. There were problems. There was racist problems. So the police department started going into the projects, right? And just pulling black men over in cars, going through all the projects, just going through, banging on doors, just grabbing men, arresting men. And there was I can't recall his name, but one man was, I believe he may have been arrested and held for a little while, right? He didn't go to jail or stand trial, but because he was held, like, they took him and then held him thinking that, he was a suspect, named him a suspect. Matter of fact, put his face on TV, named him as a suspect, and held him, because that's kind of like the issue, because after that, he had problems trying to get a job. Like, he just had problems, right? Because there's a lot of, that's post-traumatic stress. He had problems getting a job. His face was plastered all over just all of that. But long story short, Michelle Wu is the only mayor who went back. She held a whole press conference so that she could apologize to this man's face and to his family. So she did do that. So kudos to Mayor Michelle Wu for trying to heal the city of Boston. I appreciate that. So, two more stories I'm going to get to real quick. So, there was a new study that, is being talked about a lot on this current news cycle, and it should be, and it shouldn't stop. We need to be talking about this through the election. A new study has estimated that nearly 520,000 rapes were associated with 64,000 pregnancies. So let me say that again. There were about 64,000 pregnancies after Roe that were the result of about 520,000 rapes. Yeah. Nearly 520,000 rapes caused over 60,000 pregnancies. Just think about it. In just 14 states. You can guess which states. It's the states with the abortion bans and no exceptions for rape and incest. This is what you get. Over 60,000 pregnancies from rape. That's staggering. And it's sickening. So they got this data, like I think it was a GYN doctor, started to see more and more rape victims come into the office. So that's how this study started. And I think it took a little while to do this study. And the study is based on like really rudimentary, like they really had to go back, like crime reports, the number of vaginal rapes, like the crime reports of rape. Then they had to compare it with the number of vaginal rapes, like for each state. Um, and then just imagine, just imagine, like because that's a hard thing. Like you have to go to the clinics, see how many rapes are reported there. Then you have to, compare that to crime reports. Then you have to compare that to vaginal rapes that are actually being reported because all rapes aren't vaginal, like just all of that. And that's the estimate. So that's probably a low estimate. It is probably much higher than that. But I can't even wrap my head around 60,000 pregnancies as a result of over 500,000 rapes. So just the thought of 500,000 rapes is fucking mind blowing, right? In only 14 states since Roe has been destroyed. 500,000 rapes. So it seems like rape is even going up, right? And rape is going to keep going up because it's like the rapist is like, hey, you know what? Where's my punishment? This is not here. I can just rape with reckless abandon because it's never my fault. It's the woman's fault. Because why wouldn't Republicans want to normalize rape when their nominee is the head rapist? Right? So of course they're trying to normalize rape for us. You mean over 60,000 pregnancies as a result of rape in 14 states, and Texas is the highest, the greatest pregnancies coming from rape. And Greg Abbott, he's the same guy that said, I'm going to eradicate rape. So we don't need any rape exceptions. Texas has so many, and remember, Texas is a state that those women are suing too, right? Texas is a state where women have been sent home to miscarry. Texas is a state where women are carrying dead fetuses until like it's just expelled. Texas is the state that is making women carry fetuses with organs that are developing outside of the body and won't let the woman get an abortion because it may have a heartbeat with the heart that has developed outside of the body. So you still can't. So that's what's going on. But let's go back to the rape thing because, so if those things weren't torture enough, Now you have to think about that amount of pregnancies with rape. Like, I, I don't even know where to start with this because it's like the trauma of the rape, right? Like, there's so many aspects of rape. Rape is from people you know. It's also from a date, right? Or you could be in a club and someone spikes your drink. Then you're just taken, because that happened here in Massachusetts. This woman, she was at a bar with her friends and like talking to some guy, and then she called her lift or something like that. And the guy had spiked her drink, and he was supposed to be walking her to the lift and walked her to his car and had taken her somewhere to Rhode Island and was just raping her. Like, something like that, if it happens in Texas or Arkansas or Mississippi or Alabama, you're shit out of luck, right? You wake up, you know something was happening. You think you were raped. Maybe you have plan B in your state. I don't even know if they have that in Alabama. And then, like, you try to forget about that traumatizing experience because most women don't report that kind of rape. One, you're embarrassed. It's hard to process. You just try to heal on your own. Um, and then before you know it, it's like 2 months later, you're like, oh, I haven't gotten a period. So now you take a test and you're pregnant. You know you haven't had any sex, and then your mind goes back to that when you were drugged. And then these states force you to have this child. They force you to remain pregnant. So you're already traumatized from the rape, traumatized from being drugged. Now you're traumatized again because you literally have to carry and then deliver a rapist child. How do you love that child? Like, I don't even understand. That's and then on top of that, right? So if that happens, you are forced to give birth to the rapist child. Guess who has rights to that child? Fucking rapists, right? If they caught him and he went to jail, when he comes out, he's got rights to this child. What the fuck? You have to vote, people. Like, I can't say this enough. You have to vote. Your sisters, your aunties, your cousins, your wives. This stuff is real. No exceptions for rape. And then, you have these trolls on social media with a ridiculous, should have taken birth control, or the baby's not the baby's fault. Like, but you've never carried a rapist baby. So what are you talking about? You have no say in this. Like, why would the government have any say? And then the states that may have exceptions, they're not really exceptions, right? The exceptions are made to not work. Because I think Ron DeSantis has exceptions. You got to get signed off by 2 doctors. You got to report it in a certain amount of time. That's not how that works, especially if it's a child. You may never know that a child's been raped because people don't talk about it. As a woman, we know. So I don't know how women are supporting Republicans, right? Because every woman, there's probably not a woman on this earth that has not been sexualized by a man. If not touched, gawked at, said something rude to, been in a situation where you've been nervous because the man is creepy or making you feel weird. We've all been in those situations. All of us. So to think that this is okay, to think that, oh, you should report it and then you get to get your rape. That's not how rape works. No one gets raped and the next day they're like, I'm about to report this. You've been violated. You've been traumatized. It's like you have to mourn something. I can't even imagine if you're a virgin. That's even worse. See how many scenarios there is with this thing? Imagine being a virgin and then getting raped and then getting pregnant all at the same time. This stuff is happening. No plans to have a baby because you're fucking a virgin. What if you're a Christian virgin? Didn't want to have sex before marriage. So you're telling me that Texas is making the fucking Christian give birth and not be married, but they're evangelical and they're Christians, but they're going to force this person to give birth and not be married, and that wasn't their will? Y'all fucking crazy. Like, it doesn't, none of it makes sense. It just, none of it makes sense. I could go on forever, but I'm just going to talk about this last situation that doesn't make any sense either. Uh, Mary, you're going to love this one. This is just going to make you so upset because it just made me so upset. And I had to tweet about it. And the trolls right now are probably still going crazy about this. So, our good old state of Mississippi, the poorest state in the United States, Mississippi, last in healthcare, last in education. I got a nerve to decline the federal government's free meal program in the summer for the kids. They said, nah, we don't need that. Last in jobs, just high maternal death rates, high pregnancy, high rape, high gun sales, though. Woo, that's a great thing. So, our good state, Mississippi. A 10-year-old Black child was left in his car by his mom, right? It's not a bad thing. He's 10 years old. His mother had some business to do. So, he's in the car waiting for his mother to do whatever. I don't know who hasn't left their 10-year-old in the car sometimes. Like if you're running into the ATM, you're like, lock the doors, and you're looking at them, you just run in and you run out, right? It's 10. It's not 4. It's not 2. He's 10. So whatever the case is, the kid had to pee. So he gets out the car, goes to the back of the car, tries to be discreet, and pees. He's seen by a white police officer. White police officer calls for backup because, this is a dangerous kid with his little wee peeing. You got to have some backup. So 4 more cops come, right, to get this kid who is peeing. Mother comes out, what's going on, right? Your son's peeing. We got to arrest him. What do you mean? I'll just take him home. Nope, we're taking him to the station. We're going to book him. They take this 10-year-old. I believe he was only in 3rd grade. Take him, put him in a police car, and they actually prosecute this kid. I'm sure he got out on, I don't know if he got bail. I don't know that details, but I do know what happened subsequently. So he got a citation for child in need of services, which is not a good thing, right? A citation for a child in need of services means you've just invited the Department of Social Services into this woman's home, like she did something wrong. And once the Department of Social Services is in your home, they're in your home, right? Like they'll take your kid away. But this is what they do. This is how systemic racism works. They get into your home, they take your kids, or they label your kids troubled. Now you're in the system. Once you're in the system, it's hella hard to get out of the system. It's hella hard to do anything because now you have this label on you. So this is all part of the school to prison pipeline, getting Black kids out the homes and into foster care. Like it's all a part of what they do. They've been doing this forever because I also think that Mississippi is a place where this judge got actually arrested because he was taking money, he was taking bribes to send children to actual prisons. It was a privatized prison. So he was sending kids to prison for fighting in school. Like any little thing, he was just sending them to prison at night. I think it was Mississippi or one of these racist ass southern backwards states. So back to this little boy. So they booked him, they prosecute him, whatever, and they say, okay, we'll give you a citation for that. The mother's like, no, I don't want that, because I don't want that on my kid's record. I don't want that on my record. I'll rather go to trial. Let's just do it. Let's just go to trial and see if a jury will find him guilty or whatever. So they didn't want to do that, right? Mississippi didn't want to do that. So they threatened her. So they're like, hey, if we go to trial, then we're going to up the charges and we're going to say it was disorderly conduct. So now they're threatening to give this kid a record, right? 10. He's fucking 10. They would never do this to a white kid. And I said that on Twitter, and all the racists came up like, why are you bringing race into it? This is what got me too. Couple of people were like, well, I was on a road trip with my buddy and we pulled over and we peed on the side of the road and we got arrested too because you're not supposed to do that. You're a fucking adult. This is a 10-year-old. See, this is what they do to the black kids. They treat black kids like adults because they kept my whole Twitter threads was like that. Heck, when I was 16, the cops saw me peeing and I got in trouble. You're 16. You know better. An adult knows better. You know not to pee in public. Your fucking dick is going to be way different as an adult than it is as a 10-year-old. He is a child. He is not responsible for anything at 10 years old. It's not his fault, right? So then they get back to the mother. Well, the mother, she should be in jail because she shouldn't have left him. Right. He's 10. He's in the car. She's in the building right there. Who doesn't do that, right? Who doesn't do that? Who doesn't take their kids? I don't know how many times I've driven from, picking my kid up from daycare, trying to drive home, like making sure, did she drink? I hope she didn't drink. Use the bathroom before you leave. As soon as we're in the car, close to home, she's in the back doing this. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? Excuse me. She's like, 3 years old. You gotta go to the bathroom. What do I have to do? Pull over. I have to pull over so my kid can use the bathroom. Who hasn't done this with their children? Stop playing right now. So whatever the case is, they wanted to charge him with disorderly conduct. But then a youth judge came into the picture, and the youth judge is like, hey, I will sentence your child to having to write a book report, 3 months probation, a curfew of 8 p.m., and your 10-year-old has to submit to drug testing. I don't know why this kid would have to submit to drug testing. Maybe that's a part of probation. Maybe that just comes with the term probation automatically comes with the drug testing. That's why a 10-year-old shouldn't be on probation for fucking just peeing. Like, that's so crazy. So long story short, I believe the family is still fighting this. They do have an attorney. From what I saw, I wish Ben Crump was on this because, like, what is this? This poor kid has just got to be traumatized. Like, 10-year-old black boys are 10-year-old black boys. They're still kids. Stop playing with me. If you trying to tell me, this is like you gaslighting me, that if it was a white kid, they would have been treated the same. They absolutely wouldn't have, because if they saw a white kid peeing on the street, one, the cop would have laughed at him like, ha ha ha, look at little Billy. Then he would have went over, he would have tussled his hair a little bit and said, where's your mama? And then he's like, go get your mama. And then he's like, Billy peed on the street, tell him not to pee on the street anymore. But Billy, that's okay, because I used to do that as a kid too. And that's it. They probably would have bought him Burger King like Dylan Roof. Like, stop playing with us right now. We know what racism is. Stop trying to tell us what racism is. It's like they try to gaslight the black community. Like, that's not racism. You're being divisive. You're the one that's a race baiter. Like, it's ridiculous. If you don't see what's wrong with a 10-year-old peeing on the street and 4 police officers show up to put this kid in a police car, there's something wrong with you. Because Donald Trump right now is yelling about a 2-tier justice system, saying he's being treated differently than anyone else. He's got 91 felony counts. He's been deemed a rapist. And here he is just walking around free when y'all arrest a 10-year-old for fucking peeing on the ground when he had to use the bathroom. Something's wrong with this country, seriously. Anyway, that's all I have. Yeah, exactly. Here's a cheeseburger. They're like, yay, Billy, here's a cheeseburger for you. Mom, is there anything else I can do? Do you need an escort home? Do you need a babysitter? Like, they would just get all of the things. But this black kid, oh no. He's like a grown man. He must be a thug. We're gonna teach him a lesson now before he does something really bad. That's how they think about our black kids. And then they wonder why we be like Black Lives Matter. I mean, that's why, folks. Anyway, Mary, thank you so much for popping in. I will see everyone next week. I am so glad that I came because I was like fighting it. But anyway, have a good night. Hopefully we get that judgment on Trump being found that he is not immune from prosecution. So hopefully that judgment comes next week. But if not, I will see you guys very soon. Talk to you later. Good night, Mary.